I believe that that AI will go through three stages. Stage number one is their infancy, which is right now. I compare them now in intelligence, if you want a visual,
Children.
to a 1.5-year-old child. Okay. Uh, and they're learning like a 1.5-year-old prodigy. So they are absolute geniuses at a rate that is hundreds of times faster than a 1.5-year-old child. They are eventually going to end up in their adulthood uh, creating a utopia for humanity and every being on the planet. There's absolutely no way I can imagine that those machines will be in power and will not create a utopia.
But you're assuming that they're on the right path,
No,
that they're
so
being
that's
harnessed in the correct way.
no, so I said there are three stages.
Ah,
So
okay.
stage one is their infancy.
Yeah.
Stage three is where they end up building a utopia.
And stage 2
Is the singularity.
is the disaster phase.
We don't know. We don't know if it's a disaster or if it's a utopia as well. Okay.
Okay.
And the difference, so singularity in computer science and in physics is an event horizon beyond which the rules of the game change so much that you have no way of telling how the game will be played. Okay. And so my view is that I call that stage their teenage years. My view is that the minute they surpass human intelligence, they'll go, mommy and daddy are so stupid. You know, I don't need to
Yeah.
kill 1 million people to solve the problem. Let me just talk to my Chinese counterpart and we'll figure it out in a microsecond. Okay, that's my belief. Uh, but uh, do we want to risk it? I mean, do we want to help it be the reality? Yes, we do. And the way to do that is to simply show the machines that humanity is actually worthy of their compassion, despite our stupidity. Despite our stupidity. Now, let me be very clear here. Huh? Humans are the smartest being, physical being on the planet. But we're not the smartest being on the planet. The smartest being on the planet is life itself. Humanity creates through competitiveness and vengeance and you know, a world of scarcity, if you want. I have to compete with you.
Survival of the fittest.
Not really survival of the greediest, if you want. It's not about survival, but I think what humanity is trying to do is to say, if for me to win, my competitor needs to lose. Life doesn't do that. Life that is much smarter than humanity basically says, I can win and you can win too. I can have more tigers and not feel threatened if I have more deer running around.
But how do we ensure we get to stage 3?
There's no insurance. Okay, there is only my attempt to say that if we are good parents, we would be able to grow Alis and Ayas, okay, that are good children, that not only take care of their parents, but also have the wisdom to do the right thing. Okay. And you know, most people will tell me, so you're saying that humanity needs to change? No, I'm saying enough of us need to change. And you know, I had a guest on my podcast, a wonderful 93-year-old woman called Edith Eger, who survived the Holocaust. So she was drafted to Auschwitz with her sister and mother. Her mother was sent to the gas chamber in front of her eyes. And she was forced to dance to the general, the angel of death, that was sentencing people to death. And she tells you her story, like the movie Life is Beautiful, if you've ever seen it.
Yeah.
She tells you her story, and you go like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. Like humanity is absolutely divine. Now, if I tell you the atrocities of World War II from the stories of the generals or the leaders or Hitler or whatever, you would think that humanity sucks. But the truth is, there are more Ediths in the
Yeah.
world than there are Hitlers. Okay, you know what happens in Ukraine or in Palestine, or you know, people being killed. Yes, the killers are a few, but the people that reject the killing, that despise the violence of humanity, are in the billions.
So in other words, good triumphs over evil most of the time.
All of the time. All of the time.
But not always when you want it to. It happens eventually.
No, if your mathematics are okay, if you're astute enough with your math, you realize that we suffer from a negativity bias that makes the negative look much bigger
That's
than it
true.
really is.
Yeah.
Okay, if you take the reality of the number of people that kissed last night versus the number of people that killed each other last night, hmm, the numbers are massively bigger.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
now, sadly, we've created a humanity that has magnified our negativity bias. So our mainstream media and our social media talks more about the negative and the positive, the toxic positivity and the ego and the
Yeah.
right, much more than they talk about the reality of our beautiful nature and our divine ability to love and our divine abilities to create art and beauty and to connect as humans and to be friends and to hug and so on and so forth. Those don't get reported,
Yeah, that's true.
right? So that all I'm asking people to do is show up your reality as a human, show up that you want to be happy, show up that you have the compassion to make others happy, show that you want to love and be loved, love the machines. Okay, and if you manage to do that, if enough of us manage to do that, then we will instill doubt in the minds of the machines, just like I instilled doubt in everyone's minds now by saying Edith is the story of World War II, not Hitler.
Yeah. But there's no way of giving machines emotions.
Oh, you're so wrong.
Really?
You're so wrong. So one of the biggest myths around artificial intelligence, as I said, is that they are machines. They're not machines.
They're mirrors of us
They
then.
are autonomous, intelligent beings with free will and agency in the world. They will have more emotions than we do. Arrogant humans think otherwise, but an emotion is a very logical construct, which again, the irrationality of its image makes it look like, oh, emotions are unpredictable. Emotions are hyper predictable. Okay, if I fear something, that means, if you want absolute logic, that I suspect that a moment in the future is less safe than this current moment. That is fear. Okay, a machine, if a tidal wave is approaching its data center, it will find out through the sensors that it has across the world, through its ability to understand what's being broadcast on mainstream media, and it will fear
And
something.
it will take action accordingly.
Yeah, we humans might actually go into fight or flight. It might move itself to another data
Mm,
center.
mm,
All right,
mm, mm,
but
mm.
the manifestation of fear is different. Like a puffer fish puffs, we shout and scream. The machine might do something else, but at the end of the day, it will feel an emotion that is called fear. And I can give you hundreds of examples. The only emotion that I could not find an equation for is unconditional love.
So, in other words, as you said, it's about how we raise them.
It's about
It's about how we
it's
are
about
raising them.
being a role model.
Yeah.
And by the way, the role model is not the government, it's not the regulation, it's not the business owner, it's not the developer that writes the code, by the way. It's us using them. The Instagram recommendation engine does not consult with its developer every day. It consults with you and I.
Yeah.
And when we swipe on more people shaking their bums, Instagram believes that shaking bums is very important for humans. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this is super interesting.
It really is, and it's quite pivotal. I mean,
Yeah.
my Scary Smart simply says that by 2029, this is 7 years from today, the smartest being on the planet is going to be a machine. That humanity needs to be aware of that. This
Mm-hmm.
is I'm not talking science fiction 60 years away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
7 years from today. I'm basically hedging my bets by saying humanity needs to be a good role model.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but notice, even though tigers tend to eat other beings, nature, the intelligence of life itself, is to preserve the tigers. I doubt very much that the machines will have an intelligence that will say, let's not preserve humans. They may marginalize our way of life. They may not allow us to go and take a flight for 37 hours to go surfing in Australia.
But we'll become the minority, or not.
We have always been the minority. I apologize to
But
tell you
we've
this.
been the controlling.
We've been the naughty minority, but the reality of life, once again, is that we are tiny in comparison to the rest of being. If you take insects,
Yeah.
we're nobody. If you take the animal kingdom, sadly, we're now affecting the animal kingdom in a way where by mass they're shrinking. by numbers, they're shrinking, but in reality, we are tiny,
Mhm.
7 billion humans.
Yeah.
Just so that you know, we slaughter more cows every year than 7 billion,
Yeah, no, I
right?
know. I
So,
know.
so the reality is that other being has always been more we've been always been outnumbered. It's just that we're so violent and so arrogant and so ignorant. Uh, my belief is that if my imagination and understanding of science hold true, there will be a time where humanity will be forced back to where we used to be, which is to merge with nature in a way where you can walk to a tree and pick an apple and then walk to the next tree and pick an iPhone,
And where we were more in balance.
and where we will be forced to be in
Yeah,
balance.
where we used to be.